Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Living Dvnly Podcast. I am so excited. If you cannot tell, I am smiling from ear to ear right now, but I am happy as hell to finally have the time and the space to be able to sit and record a new episode. I love this time that I have to share and pour into the audience. I feel like my life over the past several months has been overly consumed with creative projects at work, working on the new launch and designing new products for Divine Oasis, building and designing the new website. Like, I have been busy. And I really feel like that time leading up to the new launch was very intentional time for me, very personal for me. I wanted to put my all and give my best in everything that I was working on and just recently launched. But I also pride myself on curating quality content and products and resources. And it's incredibly important for me that everything that I touch and everything that touches the Divine Oasis brand is an authentic expression of who I am and what I wholeheartedly believe in. In one of my most recent newsletters, well, let me rewind back. I was actually trying to ponder on what the concept of the new episode would be. And in one of my most recent newsletters, I explored the concept of navigating personal growth through our inner child. I mentioned in that newsletter, by learning to reconnect with our inner child, we can tap into so many different levels of creativity, passion, and really develop a newfound enthusiasm for life. I personally love the idea that the lost art of simplified living or finding joy in the simple things in life can be traced back to our childhood. I just love the idea. I feel like so many adults were forced into a space of, you have to get busy, you have to do work, you have to go to school, you have to, all these things. And we were very much disconnected from our happiness. And a lot of our happiness is tied to our childhood. I personally believe that our inner child represents so many parts of ourselves that is pure, innocent, and unburdened by the worries, the stress, and responsibilities of adulthood. It's truly the part of us that is full of curiosity and wonder and a limitless and boundless imagination. So today in this episode, I really want to explore the art of simplified living and why less is oftentimes more. Let's get into it. Welcome to Living Dvnly, the Divine Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Janae, founder and editor-in-chief of Divine Oasis. Bi-weekly, I use this platform to dissect what it means to live a well-lived life by exploring ways that we can create space for ourselves through intentionality, truth, love, and authenticity. Back in July, I did an episode titled Intentionality in Motherhood with my really good friend, Miss Jessica Lauren. Jessica, if you're listening, I love you. Kiss my nephew for me. During that episode, Jessica said something to me that still sticks with me to this day. And she complimented me on my presence on social media. And she told me, you don't portray perfection online, you portray beauty. And I hold that compliment so dear to my heart because my social media presence has always been about sharing only what is an authentic reflection of my life and who I am. But also, I pride myself on being very intentional about only doing things or showing things that feel good to me. I'm also only following accounts and people who make me feel good. Anything other than that is getting removed or it's getting blocked or I'm just not tuned in. So it just got me to thinking about social media and in general. I personally feel like in more ways than one, social media has shaped or reshaped the ways in which a lot of people view themselves in their personal life. A lot of people's lives and identities are very much rooted in their social media presence and how they portray themselves or how they portray their lives online. And it's I guess in a sense to be expected since we are now currently functioning in a very technology driven world. And it could be relatively easy for a lot of people to get caught up in the whirlwind of social media and all these complexities that it brings, especially if you're not in tune to self and you're easily influenced. Social media, primarily Instagram, often serves as a highlight reel. You often see these seemingly perfect lives and success stories. Every day you're seeing somebody getting engaged, buying a home, buying a car, announcing a pregnancy or announcing the birth of a baby. And it's essentially only us seeing the positive, exciting, luxurious aspects of people's lives on it. And this is on a consistent basis. I feel like with seeing this forces a lot of people into a space where they're finding themselves chasing bigger and better and doing this faster and constantly striving for more. What I've discovered that in the midst of chaos, the hustle and bustle, and this desire to be seen online, there's this space where the profound beauty that lies in appreciating the simple things in life is often overlooked. What if we all practice taking a more simplistic approach to life and doing this more often? Taking the time to appreciate and enjoy the simple pleasures of life is rewarding and incredibly beneficial to us, and beneficial in ways of our emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. I personally have prioritized over the years romanticizing every aspect of my life. If you've been following me for some time, or you know me personally, you know that beauty in everything is important to me. I am blessed to have curated a life where my needs and desires are always met. I chose a few years back to just say, this is what I want my life to consist of, and I'm choosing to opt out of struggle. And that for me really was the start of changing my perspective on life. I've always known I wanted more and that I deserved more, regardless of how much more that I get. But more for me has never really been rooted in the material things. That's not why I thrive. It's not how I thrive. I've learned that the power of romanticizing and appreciating the things that often go overlooked is when our lives are rooted in having more of the things that really don't matter. So how can you shift that? How can you begin to romanticize the little things. From the smell of freshly brewed coffee in the morning, the beauty of a sunrise or a sunset, the smell of fresh baked chocolate chip cookies on a fall afternoon or evening, embracing the little things that make life so special, and those little moments feel like nuggets of just peace. I love the influencer Nabella, who always says pockets of peace. How can you find those? I want to propose a question to everyone listening. How can you create a habit of prioritizing appreciation over acquisition? Sit with that. It's not lost on me that being overly connected to social media has a huge power in our lives, and I foresee it being that way for some time. We are constantly bombarded with advertisements and posts that tell us we need more, we need bigger and better in order to be happy. And listen to me when I tell you, I am very much the woman that gets suckered into purchasing everything that comes across my Instagram feed in an ad. That is me. I am her. She is I. But in my truthful and honest opinion, happiness and fulfillment does not come from acquiring or having more, but rather from appreciating the simple things that are already present in our lives. And ultimately, that is up to you to discover ways to adopt this perspective. But I do want to share a few ways that I feel will get you or help you to get there. Starting with finding beauty in everyday moments. It's there. You just have to sit there long enough. Find some stillness to let these moments come to you. My favorite moments are the mornings that I get the time and space to cook breakfast for my family, or share those sweet hugs and kisses and those tender moments with my son. I feel like today, right now, people are overly consumed with putting on for the gram, that beautiful everyday moments go unnoticed. It's about content creation. It's about being overly focused on what you need to do to put out content for the world instead of focusing on how you feel. And if you take the time to slow down and truly appreciate the moments that are rooted in love, you can discover so much of the beauty that lies within those moments. Whether, it sounds cheesy, but sometimes it's waking up in the morning and listening to the birds chirping. The feeling of being out and enjoying the sunshine, which we won't have too much more of because winter is upon us. And, the taste of a home cooked meal that you haven't had in a long time. One of my favorite things that brings me happiness is when I was a little girl, my favorite dish that my mom would make was a taco casserole. Taco casseroles are likely one of my favorite things to eat. And she would always make them when I would ask. And to this day, it is still one of my favorite meals to eat. And it's just, there's these moments of happiness. And it's such a simple thing, like a taco casserole. It's actually very country, but it's a simple thing. But I find beauty in those moments. And I love, over the summer, I've created several taco casseroles and my son loves them. So finding things that are simple yet beautiful and that you can pass down to your loved ones. Finding beauty in everyday moments is really about cultivating a mindset that is rooted in mindfulness and presence. It's about being fully present in the here and the now and embracing each moment as it comes. So much of the world is unsatisfied, and I'm noticing this more and more and more. A lot of people have it all and are still very much unhappy. And I think a lot of that is rooted in they just don't take the time to turn off the noise and sit in stillness and appreciate what they have. I think too, a lot of people have adopted the mindset of proving they are happy and living life to the rest of the world instead of actually focus on really being happy and living in the moment. It's about proving rather than actually doing. And when you take the time to notice and appreciate the small things, you can really begin to realize that life is always made up of these moments. Like, they don't just come every now and then. It's within everything and around us consistently 24/7. And it is in these moments that you find true joy and fulfillment. One of the ways that, or I shall say another way that you can start taking a more simplified approach to life is being heavily focused on mindfulness and just gratitude. The theme for the month of October for Divine Oasis is mindfulness. And I chose this theme because my son was born in the month of October. And Lord, time flies. He will be 2 this upcoming month. And why I chose this is a time of the year for me that I typically am more mindful and aware, because it is the month that I became a mother and my life changed drastically. It's the month where I saw or started to see the world so much more differently, and I became more intentional about every aspect of my life. And so finding the space to incorporate more mindfulness and gratitude practices into our daily routines can really help us cultivate a deeper appreciation for the simple things, the smaller things, and the beauty and joy that surrounds us daily. One practice that I wholeheartedly believe in is just cultivating a deep appreciation for mindfulness. Mindfulness is, to me, about being fully present in the moment, being mindful of our thoughts and feelings, mindset mastery, and doing so without judgment. I am big on this. I am big on, as you're present with yourself, as you're present and active in your body, focusing on allowing yourself grace and not being overly judgmental when you make mistakes or when you feel like you aren't functioning at your best, because we are imperfect and we all are trying. But I found that by practicing mindfulness, you create space to train yourself to be more aware of the little moments and the small pleasures, the simple pleasures that can often go missed when you're overly consumed or you're overly focused on multiple things. And these little things can be as simple, these mindful practices can be as simple as taking a few moments out of each day to just pause and breathe, be in tune with your surroundings. One of my favorite things, corny, very cheesy, but I start the morning with Kenny G radio on Pandora, or I listen to some form of jazz. My morning and my day has to start with jazz. But there is something so calming and alluring about the sound of jazz playing. And it really puts me in a space where I'm overly mindful of how I'm feeling. Like, I get this sense of calm that comes over me when I listen to jazz. And all I could do is smile and think about, the feelings that I'm feeling or the feelings that the music evokes in me. Mindful practices can also be noticing the smells and sights that are around you. I think growing up, I was more mindful than I realized or took account for, because there are things that I smell as an adult and it takes me back to a moment in my childhood. There was a scent that I smelled the other day in Home Goods, and I was like, oh my gosh, this smells like my first baby doll, Kendra. And it's those little things that you notice, and that brings you a sense of awareness and allows you to fully immerse yourself in the present moment. Something that I am changing about myself and doing a little bit more of is turning off work and being present when I'm asked. And I say this because during the workday, it is very natural for me to tell my son, can you wait a moment, or can you sit down and do this? Mommy is working and I need a minute. But something that I realized the other day is that in a way, I am actively telling my son that his needs aren't more important in that moment than the work or whatever I'm doing presently. The reality is the work will always be there, but those moments with our children, our spouses, and our loved ones don't last forever. And it is okay to shut the laptop and be present for 15 to 30 minutes and go back to whatever it is that you were doing afterward. Take a break. It'll be there. It is okay. Something else that I want to highlight that'll help you take a more simplified approach to life is making changes in your life. So, I'm pretty sure you're thinking, how does one begin to make these changes? Where do I start? And for me, a more simplified lifestyle can often feel scary. Every day when I'm thinking about making a change or doing something different, I freeze up, because it's now I have to adopt a whole new way of living, functioning, breathing, and being. And that is scary, to step outside of yourself, outside of your norm, and outside of your routine and do something different. But even with it feeling scary or being daunting, it's not entirely impossible. And when we choose to do these things, it's ultimately us taking the step in the direction and choosing to live a more fulfilling and authentic life. So what I would highly recommend is you beginning to assess and evaluate your current lifestyle and identify areas that could use some simplification. What isn't sustainable in the present moment and can be removed? What's working or what's not working? Are there relationships in your life that need to be compartmentalized so that you can prioritize more of the connections that support your new way of living? Are there things that you need to get rid of? This could mean decluttering your home, decluttering your office, streamlining your daily routines, and even reevaluating your commitments and your priorities, whether that be with work, your personal life, your small business, whatever. Once you've identified areas in your life that could use some shifting, rearranging, or refinement, it's important to start taking small steps toward those changes. Small steps towards simplicity and not rushing through the process. My favorite quote is one of my favorite quotes, shall I say, is one that I recently came across and retweeted again after tweeting it for the first time in July of 2020. The quote reads, "Luxury is feeling unrushed. It is designing a life that allows you to do what you want with high leverage, with many options, all while feeling unrushed." That is a quote by author and entrepreneur Tim Ferriss, and it was so perfectly said. You don't have to rush into new ways of living and being. If you're going to get rid of some things, start by decluttering one area of your home or implementing a new morning routine that promotes a sense of calm and intention. Slow progression is still progression. So as you make these changes, be patient with yourself and allow for gradual progression. Simplifying your life is a journey and absolutely not a destination. I think also to another step to take or embrace, shall I say, is letting go of perfectionism and embracing imperfection. These shifts in your life to adopt a more simplified lifestyle is very much rooted in learning to let go of perfectionism. In a world that often celebrates perfection, learning to embrace our uniqueness and being your authentic self can feel like a radical act. It's almost like you're going against the rest of the world. But in my high opinion, like, it's natural to want everything to be perfect. But striving for perfection can really lead to unnecessary stress and feelings of being overwhelmed. You lose that sense of peace and calm when you're fighting to maintain an image. Perfectionism can be such a heavy burden too. It's a heavy burden to carry. It forces you to set unrealistic expectations for yourself, and it puts you in a constant space where you're always feeling like you're forever falling short. The reality is none of us are perfect. And the lack of perfection that lives within all of us is totally okay. When you learn to embrace your imperfection, you give yourself permission to make mistakes. You give yourself permission to learn from those mistakes and to grow from the mistakes that you experience. You learn to let go of the constant need for approval and validation from others. And you focus more on what truly matters to you. You learn to show up as your authentic self, online and offline, and you start to foster connections that are rooted in intentionality and authenticity. And you're building and fostering connections with people that love and are obsessed with the imperfect version of you. So start to embrace your uniqueness, your quirkiness, what makes you, stand out, what separates you from the crowd. Start to embrace those things. You don't have to shy away from them. If your sense of humor is your superpower, lean into that more. If you like things that are unusual to certain people, if you're into certain cards, my secret is that I love cartoons, and I think that is a secret hidden thing that most adults don't like to admit, but it comes easier to admit when you actually do have children. But I am obsessed with cartoons. One of my favorite cartoons right now is Bluey. And I'm not shy about it. I follow Bluey Instagram accounts, Bluey Twitter accounts. Like, it is a real life obsession. But through that cartoon, it's such a cute cartoon. It's such a great cartoon for children to watch. But I also think that it reminds adults to just live freely, be you, do what feels good, and do what makes you happy. So overall, I hope that this episode inspires you to dig a little deeper and find what connects you or what reinforces simplification in all areas of your life. Sit and think about your childhood after listening to this episode. What aspects of your childhood or your inner child can inspire or spark you choosing to do more with less? I want us all to grab the concept that sometimes less is more. We are taught to believe that the key to happiness sometimes means, acquiring more possessions, or that happiness lies in more achievements or more experiences. But the truth is, more doesn't always lead to fulfillment. When we are hyper focused on physical possessions and overwhelmed with clutter and so many things going on in our lives, that creates distraction. And we are often in that distraction disconnected or separated from the things that truly matter most. So by letting go of the unnecessary clutter, you allow yourself to appreciate and immerse yourself more into the things that bring you joy, that bring you happiness and fulfillment. I want to end the episode with reminding you that your choice to simplify your life is a deeply personal process. It's very personal. What works for you or what works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. But you should always be intentional and purposeful about anything that is tied to your happiness. Focus on embracing a lifestyle that is in true alignment with your core values, your core beliefs, and your personal goals. Stay true to yourself always. And I truly hope that everyone listening is inspired to find the freedom that is hidden in plain sight when we choose to approach life more simplistically. Sending you all love, hugs, and blessings. Thanks for listening.